opportunities. And I want to thank all of you for helping to make this possible during this virtual world that we find ourselves in. I also want to welcome our special guests, the parents, and certainly our potential candidates. Your being here today says a lot about who you are. As you all know, and I know who has joined us today, we are the greatest nation. And in order to continue to be a great nation, we need good people to help us, those who are willing to help us protect it. Almost 60 years ago, the 35th President of the United States, President John F. Kennedy, said this: "Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty." Those words, although spoken 59 years ago, still ring true today. We live in the greatest nation, but our great nation is the result of good men and good women who are willing to stand up for it, fight for it, and protect it. It is the result of hard work of people who believe in something bigger than themselves. You will have the honor and privilege of meeting some of them tonight. I serve on the Committee on Homeland Security, Judiciary, and Intelligence, and our faces a number of threats, and the men and women who comprise our armed services remain our single greatest resource against those threats. Assuring our nation continued leadership will require a whole of government approach to security, including the strengthening of our education system, investments in innovation, and a recommitment to national service. Through traditional strategies, although they will continue, the battlefield of the 21st century are changing to include artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and cyber security. That's why we are so thankful that you are here with us this evening. And as we move forward, let's move forward together as a stronger, smarter, safer, and more secure nation. At this time, it is my absolute pleasure to present our amazing panelists for this evening. First up, to introduce Diana Jerome and Midshipman Joseph Manion. Miss Diana Jerome is a proud mother of Austin Jerome, a midshipman in his third year at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, who is currently in his sea year. Midshipman Joseph Manion, class of 2022, is currently a junior at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. He was nominated for the Academy by a different office. Next, we'd like to introduce Captain Lucas Dole. He is the Southwest Regional Commander for Admissions at West Point. He is a 2010 graduate of West Point, serves as a logistics officer, and has completed 2 combat tours in the Middle East. And also joining Captain Dole is Cadet Mackenzie Cope, class of 2022, is currently a junior at the U.S. Military Academy and is one of my nominees during the 2017 Academy process. Next up is Lieutenant Colby Brown, who is currently serving as an Academy Admissions Advisor for the United States Air Force Academy and is responsible for an Air Force recruiting regional program consisting of Central and South Florida, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. He entered active duty in April of this year and studied political science and Spanish abroad through language immersion programs in both Spain and Chile. And next, we have Lieutenant Chad Kenton, was accepted at the Naval Academy Preparatory School, then graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy in May of 2013. Lieutenant Kenton was commissioned as a surface warfare officer, where he served as a first division officer, electrical officer, force protection officer, and gunnery officer. Lieutenant Kenton also served as damage control assistant and has been a field admissions counselor for the U.S. Naval Academy Office of Admissions and oversees outreach efforts in Florida and in Georgia. As you've heard, we have an absolutely outstanding and impressive group of panelists tonight, and we look so forward to hearing from them. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll turn it back over to Aaron.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And as mentioned, our first presentation will come from Diana Jerome, who is will give a presentation about the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy in Kings Point, New York.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Congresswoman, for the wonderful introduction and for this great opportunity. I know I have a limited amount of time, otherwise I would go on and on and on about all the benefits of the Academy. But just briefly, I do have a video to share that sums up the Academy very, very well. But I'd like to address the parents out there and just say to you that if you are looking for a federal service academy that can offer your student, your child, the options that give them civilian opportunities as well as military opportunities, I would definitely encourage you to take a tour of the facility and really make sure that you delve into exactly everything that the Merchant Marine Academy in Kings Point, New York has to offer. There are many options there. That was a big appeal for our family, and it is working out to serve my son, who is in his third year, very, very well. But without further ado, and again, we have questions and answers later, so if you have anything for us, please let me know. But I am going to share my screen so that we can watch this really great video. One moment, please. Can you see that?
We cannot see that currently.
In peacetime, in wartime, every time. The U.S. Merchant Marine Academy is an essential resource, providing the highly trained men and women who help power a maritime industry that delivers the products that support our economy and transport the troops and cargo that protect our country in times of conflict. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt called the U.S. Merchant Marine the fourth arm of our national defense, and U.S. MMA graduates remain its backbone. U.S. merchant mariners carried soldiers, vehicles, fuel, and supplies during World War II and suffered more casualties proportionately than any other armed service. Over the course of the war, 142 Academy midshipmen undergoing SEER training perished, making the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy the only service academy to be awarded a U.S. battle standard. During the Korean War, commercial ships, many with U.S. MMA graduates at the helm, transported 5 million troops and passengers, 54 million tons of cargo, and 180 million barrels of fuel. In Vietnam, U.S. merchant ships completed nearly 7,000 sea lift transits and evacuated over 130,000 refugees at the war's end. And U.S. MMA graduates also played a major role in the Gulf War, helping to execute the largest, fastest, and farthest sea lift to a single theater in world history. Sea lifts via U.S.-flagged commercial vessels continue to deliver the millions of tons of cargo necessary to support our ongoing war on terror. And over 80% of the Navy's strategic sea lift officers are U.S. Merchant Marine Academy graduates, ready to lead from day one, thanks to advanced coursework and instruction, which requires a full year of training at sea. Committed to serve, like other Federal Service Academy graduates, for 8 years in the Armed Forces and Reserves. Today, as political and economic threats mount in all corners of the world, and as other world powers aggressively expand their commercial and military sea power to project their influence, obligated U.S. Merchant Marine officers are more important than ever. Vital to our economy, vital to our national security, highly trained and committed to serve. Every time, everywhere.
We are the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy.
We are the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. We are the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy.
I'm so sorry, was that not, you were not able to see that?
Unfortunately, Diana, we were not able to see.
Oh my goodness, I'll put the information in the chat, and now I'm having connectivity issues as well. I'm going to log off and log back on if that's okay, and if we can go on to the next speaker, I'll regroup at the end. My apologies.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next presentation is from the U.S. Military Academy at West Point by Captain Lucas Dahl and Cadet Mackenzie Cope to do a dual presentation. When you're ready, Captain.
Good evening, everyone. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get my slide share here. Sure we can do this. Somebody give me a thumbs up. Just let me know that you can see those slides. We're good to go. Okay, awesome. So thank you very much for hosting this event. Thank you, Congresswoman. This is great. I love being able to do these events. Wish I could be there in person because New York's starting to get cold, honestly. But most importantly, I love being able to get this information out and tell candidates about all the opportunities available to them. Really special tonight. Nobody really wants to hear me talk. I'm 10 years after graduation. Don't know what it's like to actually be a cadet anymore. But luckily, we have Cadet Mackenzie Cope here to use the majority of our time to talk to you all about what cadet life's like and really talk to you about what your experience is going to be like 4 years. So to start off, I'm going to just give a little bit of my background, talk a bit about the application process, since everybody probably wants to know about that as well. And then I'm going to turn over the rest of our time to Cadet Cope to talk about her experiences here at the Academy. So as the Congresswoman said, I graduated West Point in 2010, but I actually started my military career prior to coming to West Point. I enlisted as a Russian linguist in 2004. And after serving a couple of years, I was luckily given the opportunity to come to West Point as a member of the class of 2010. Upon graduation, I did my first assignment out in Hawaii, Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. It was rough duty, but somebody had to do it. So I volunteered, threw my hand up for that one. Got some great opportunities out there. Got to do my first combat deployment out there over to Afghanistan. Got the opportunity to lead a platoon of transportation soldiers in Afghanistan. To this day, I will say that that was probably the best job that I have had in the Army, probably the best job I will have the rest of my life. Getting the opportunity to lead some of America's best in combat was the greatest opportunity that I will ever get. And hopefully the Army gives me more opportunities to lead soldiers, maybe larger elements, but I'll never get to be that close with my soldiers again. So first thing I'll tell you is everything you gain at West Point is going to set you up for that first opportunity to lead when you get out to the Army, that platoon leader time, and take advantage of it. It's probably, most people end up coming out of it saying that that's the best opportunity they got to lead in the Army. Even though you'll get to lead bigger organizations somewhere along the line, that's always the best. I continued my career by going on to my captain's career course, became a logistics officer. Following that, I did my second combat deployment over to a mixture of Iraq, Jordan, Qatar, all over the Middle East for that one. And really got some amazing opportunities to see the Joint Special Operations environment. Following that, I did my company command time down at Eglin Air Force Base in the Panhandle of Florida with the 7th Special Forces Group, and got to lead about 140 troops in a company there, which was an amazing opportunity as well. Army sent me to get my Master's of Business Administration after that in order to come to this job, and I've been here for about 1.5 years now, and loving every minute of getting this opportunity to work with candidates and talk to them about West Point. So this is probably, really out of everything I can give you information-wise, Cadet Cope's going to give you way better stuff. But what I can give you is talk to you about the admissions process and what the inside of it looks like so that you can make yourself as competitive as possible for it. You see here exactly what we look at in our candidates for West Point. 60% academics, 30% leadership, and 10% at candidate fitness assessment. So obviously academics are the most important, so we'll talk about that first. Your weighted high school GPA is what we're going to look at. So you want to be taking those honors, AP, IB classes, those higher level classes to show that you can already operate at that college level. That's going to help you the most when we look at that GPA piece. Second thing is those standardized test scores, SAT, ACT. I know people are struggling to have opportunities to take those tests right now, but I would just encourage you to continue signing up for them, continue to try to get in there, because West Point does super score. So however many times you're able to take that test, take it every opportunity you can, because we're going to take the best scores that you get and put them together, and that's what we're going to look at to determine your competitiveness on the academic side. If you are unable to get into any SATs or ACTs, if they all get canceled, we would consider your file with only a PSAT, but you do need to continue trying to take the SAT, ACT. Final thing there that's worth highlighting is that we do require the SAT essay and or the ACT writing. However, this year, again, with the challenges that people are having, we would again encourage you to try to take the test with writing or with essay. But if we get down the line and you continue to have tests canceled, maybe you took your first SAT without writing or essay, haven't had the opportunity to take it since, we'll still consider your file. But still, for those anybody in junior and below, you're going to want to take the SAT with essay and writing. On the leadership side, I always tell people, think quality over quantity. That's the important thing here. We don't want to just see you participate in every club that you can. We want to see that you're a leader and that you reach those higher levels within those clubs and organizations and extracurriculars that you're participating in. We require 4 school official evaluations. Those are simply letters of recommendation on our standard format, and they're going to be from math, English, physics or chemistry, and PE. I'm going to move on to the candidate fitness assessment now. Only thing that's worth highlighting here, because the candidate fitness assessment is the same for multiple academies, is that we do require videos for the pull-ups and the push-ups. So make sure that if you're doing the CFA for multiple academies, that you do record those pull-ups and push-ups. Final thing I'll highlight here is that application deadline of January 31st. Just some key things to remember is that application deadline, as I just said, January 31st. Medical qualification deadline is April 15th. So that means you want to complete your application early so you can work on your medical early, get it opened up early, and hopefully get that qualified well before that deadline. Be proactive throughout the process. I'm going to give a list of contacts, myself and the local field force liaisons for West Point down in your area. Reach out to us. Let us give us updates. Ask us the questions you have. So our whole purpose is to help you through this process. My job is to be the advocate for the candidates from the Southeast to the admissions committee here at West Point. I can't be the best advocate that I can be for you if I don't know who you are. So feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to my field force representatives at any time. Continue to prep and train for the SAT, ACT, and the CFA. If you don't prepare for things, you can't expect your best results. You can't expect the most competitive opportunity for yourself. These are those point of contacts that I was talking about. I will drop these in the chat as well so that everybody can access them, because I'm going to move on quickly. If you're not able to take a picture of this yet, don't worry, you'll still get them. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Cadet Mackenzie Cope and give her the opportunity to tell you all about West Point and her amazing experience here. Go ahead, Mackenzie.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Congresswoman and everyone else. I'm honored to be here. I remember sitting in the attendees' shoes, wondering, what it was like to go there, and would I one day be able to give one of these briefs? So it's nice to be here now. So I'm Cadet Mackenzie Cope. I'm in my junior year here at West Point, which we call cow year. A couple pictures I just got on the slide that I felt summarized my experience thus so far. I can thoroughly say I'm enjoying it. You can't tell by how wide I'm grinning in most of the photos. So next slide, please, sir. So West Point. I really like this photo because even though you can't see all of the Hudson Valley, it still encompasses, I think, the beauty of the campus that we have here. So West Point is obviously a little more isolated than somewhere like Kings Point, New York, or Annapolis. However, if you're someone like me who really loves the outdoors, the cooler weather, the fall colors, West Point's location is definitely ideal for that. And additionally, we're only about an hour's drive from the city, or an hour train ride. So that makes weekend excursions convenient and a nice escape if you're a little tired from the more outdoorsy lifestyle. Next slide, please, sir. So the mission of the United States Military Academy. I just want to highlight the underlined parts of this, which is to educate, train, and inspire commissioned leaders of character. So that idea is reinforced to us a lot. So in my third year, I think I've heard leader of character more times than I can count, both from leadership, my fellow cadets, just readings that we do in order to improve this character. And I can definitely say that it is very important here. And I personally feel I've experienced a degree of character development, because when you're in high school, there's no one really holding you accountable for lying, cheating, stealing, which is all parts of our honor code here. But West Point really makes you cognizant of those things because it expects you to adhere to that. And I think it's made me both a better person as well as a much more enriched officer when I do graduate and commission into the Army. Next slide, please, sir. So the 4 pillars of being a cadet. Unfortunately, people usually get bogged down in 1 or 2 pillars rather than focusing on all 4 of them. So with talking about the mission statement, I already mentioned the character pillar, which that is extremely important here. As you can see in the photo, that's a picture of a new cadet holding the Cadet Honor Code handout that they give you during Beast. You're supposed to carry it around, memorize it, because that is like the backbone of the character development here. But there's 3 other pillars. So we have the physical side. Pictured is our cadet intramurals called company athletics. So the way that the academy is organized is you're put into companies with roughly 120 people. And if you're not on one of the intercollegiate teams, then you're placed on one of these company athletics teams. So I always enjoyed it because I still get an opportunity to compete because I'm not on a NCAA or intercollegiate team. but I still get to go out on the basketball court, the hockey rink, the flag football field. This most recent one, I was part of a CrossFit competition. So, you're still getting that athletic ability and training as well as the competitiveness. The academic pillar, probably my least favorite pillar, even though it is the most prominent one here, because West Point is known for being very rigorous in their academic demands. I'm an international history major. So my plebe year, I took a history class with Colonel Mustine, and the instructors here are phenomenal because they can single-handedly shape how you take in the information from a class. And the fact that our classes are so small, generally like 12 to 15 people, you really get the one-on-one intimate instruction from your teachers. And they're usually Army officers or civilians, and they have specific insights that you might not get anywhere else if, say, you went to a civilian school and did ROTC. So that's certainly one of my favorite parts of the academic pillar here is classroom size and our instructors. Finally, the military pillar. So this is my favorite pillar because I am a big military nerd, I'll say. The team that I'm on is called the Irregular Warfare Club. So we study special forces, SOCOM tactics. We go out in the field and we train stuff that you learn during your summer training. So summer training, every summer, instead of just summer school or going home on leave, we do military training. So you get to go out, you learn stuff that maybe your enlisted counterparts are learning in terms of infantry tactics or just moving as a squad in enemy territory. You get to shoot, you get to move, you get to communicate. It's definitely one of my favorite parts. The team cohesion and unique experiences that you get out of it are like none other. There have been times that I've been out walking around in the woods with a rifle in hand and a rucksack on my back. And I've just thought, nowhere else, no other school would I have this unique and amazing opportunity. So that's definitely my favorite pillar. Next slide, please, sir. So the academic majors, going back to the academic side of things. As I said, I'm an international history major. You can see that we offer a lot of majors, 36 majors, 15 minors. I know my roommate is a double major. You do have to be careful with the double majoring though, because additionally we have to take an engineering track if you are in a non-STEM major. So as a history major, because I'm not part of engineering or chemistry or physics, I chose to take the cyber engineering track. So it's sort of like I have a minor in cyber engineering, but it all encompasses into your graduation requirements here at West Point. Next slide, please, sir. Again, back to my favorite pillar, military development. So your first year here, you are a freshman, you're a plebe. So prior to beginning the school year, you go to what we call BEAST, which is Cadet Basic Training. And that's where you get your first taste of military life. That picture on the top left of the 4-stack, that's when you first get yelled at by your cadet cadre, who are people that are my year now. And I vividly remember that being a very awakening moment for me, like, okay, this is real. I'm not just some high school student. I'm not just a civilian anymore. It's time for me to try to live up to the role models that these existing cadets are setting for me and the expectations they have, as well as, service my country and being a part of the West Point community. So the following year, when you're a yearling, again, as I said, you have summer training prior to that academic year as well. This personally was my favorite summer training, cadet field training. I had a fantastic squad that went through some of the more difficult 4 weeks of my life. And the team cohesion, as well as the unique experiences we get, like marksmanship, land navigation, the confidence courses, operations patrolling, everything you see listed there. It's truly like nothing else you'll experience And I, for one, it has made me a far more confident person, both in my military skills as well as just as a human being, knowing that I'm capable of doing the things that I did at CFT. Additionally, under the CFT, it says 4-week individual advanced development. So we call these AIADs, lots of acronyms in the military. So again, that's a photo of me in Budapest, Hungary. So I got to do a IAD with the history department prior to going to cadet field training. So I spent 2 weeks in class learning about the Cold War, and then I spent 2 weeks traveling all over Eastern Europe, actually looking at the places that we'd learned about in regards to the Cold War. So in that picture, I was in Hungary. We also went to Germany, Poland, the Czech Republic, and Hungary. We made a quick stop in London, but didn't learn a lot, did most of sightseeing. And additionally, another AID I was able to take part in was following cadet field training. So my last summer, I really didn't get to go home. I just traveled abroad a lot. It was fantastic. I went back to Germany with a Army unit where I got to go out and see how a deployed unit trains in one of the German training areas. And again, that was a fantastic experience because, again, I got to go abroad. I got to see an actual Army unit, work in their environment, giving me a little more insight into what my life will be like as a second lieutenant. Next slide, sir. So more summer training, junior year. So I'm a cow now. Obviously, this past summer with COVID-19, I was unable to do any of my summer training, which made me very sad. I was really looking forward to cadet leader development training, which you can see there on that list. Again, some really intense summer training because I didn't get to go through it. I don't have a lot of personal experiences to reflect on it. But I'm looking forward to doing it next summer, going into my first year. To touch on the military leadership schools. So these schools are usually offered to you once you are in your active duty. And it's very competitive for ROTC cadets to get slots for these schools as well. But West Point, we offer Air Assault School here and get priority slots for airborne, basic mountaineering, and all of the international schools that you see on that list there. So I personally have not gone to any of these schools. As I said, my first summer was busy with the AIDs, but going into the future, I hopefully would like to go to airborne school this summer, which is jumping out of planes. Who would do that? Airborne or Air Assault School is the photo you see there, the person rappelling out of a helicopter. Basic mountaineering would be the skiing, or there might be the Chilean mountaineering. Either way, lots of mountaineering courses, and you can go abroad with those as well. And they're very cool experiences, and you get badges that you get to wear that go on your permanent Army record and help you in your career in the future. Next slide, please, sir. That's it. I'll be taking questions later in the Q&A, so if you have any, just write them down, and I'll turn it back over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Mackenzie. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you're probably pretty busy with academics and everything else, so I really appreciate you taking your time, and I'm sure that all the candidates really appreciate you taking your time as well. So that's all we have, and I will be here as well if there's any questions at the end. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Captain Dahl and Cadet Coate. Of course, we're very proud of Mackenzie and had a chance to visit with her on a tour of West Point, and she's making us proud here in Central Florida. So thank you very much. Our next presentation is from Second Lieutenant Colby Brown from the U.S. Air Force Academy.
Great, thank you, sir. And while I share my screen, I'll thank the Congresswoman and all the staff again. These always run seamlessly, even though it is obviously not how we all want to be doing it. So I appreciate all the help in setting up. And I'm excited to talk to y'all, first of all, because I can speak for myself and all the other panelists. When y'all show up to these and you ask some questions, even if they're the basic questions and you have interest in this, it means a lot to us. It means a lot to your parents. It means a lot to the Congresswoman's office. It means a lot to everybody because you have a small desire to serve this country. And so it gets us excited, and I love doing it because of that reason. So this is me. I'm Colby Brown. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I just graduated in April in the class of 20. I'm going to pilot training in March, and until then I'm doing this admissions advisor job. I studied political science and Spanish at the Air Force Academy. Below you'll see all my contact info. Don't worry, this slide will be up at the end, and I'll put this all in the chat. And how I like to start this off usually is by talking about how I didn't grow up with Top Gun posters on my wall in my room when I was a kid, right? I didn't have airplanes flying from the ceiling or anything. No one in my family has been a pilot. No one in my family has been in the Air Force, went to the Air Force Academy or any of that, right? I was actually 20 years old playing junior college baseball in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico, before I even opened up this application. And the reason I say that is because if y'all are applying or you don't know too much about the service academies, maybe you don't get an application in time, you go to a year of college or whatnot, there's still paths to the service academies, right? And like I said before, if you want to serve, if you have a little desire, a little voice in your head, seek out those opportunities. Because I showed up as a 21-year-old freshman. At the moment, that sounded like the worst thing in the world. But now from my seat now, I can honestly tell you that was the best choice I could have ever made, right? So I just say that to tell y'all that the path is not straight and they're all over the place. And if you do choose that path, you can end up here, right? Colorado Springs, Colorado at the Air Force Academy. This is your campus, right, with the beautiful chapel, the #1 tourist attraction in Colorado, sitting right at the centerpiece. I like to talk about Colorado, especially to y'all Floridians, because I don't know if anyone's visited there, very few people have, right? 4 seasons, nestled in the mountains, some of the best skiing less than 2 hours away. Denver, an incredibly fun, up-and-coming city less than an hour away. It's pro sports, pro football, pro hockey, pro baseball. Colorado Springs itself, city, 10 minutes, you're in the middle of town, you go in a restaurant, going out with your friends on some weekends. And this is your backyard, right? You wake up to this every single day. And at the end of the day, we do want you to enjoy your 4 years. Yes, it's a service academy. Yes, it's going to be, you're not going to have every single weekend off. You can't do everything you want to do every single night. Right? We all know these things. Or maybe if you don't know now, you know, right? But when you're in Colorado, it's much easier to enjoy your time, get out in nature, right? Breathe a little bit. I missed it already. I didn't think I was going to miss it as quick, but I can't wait to get back. What are we doing at the Air Force Academy there in Colorado? Developing the whole person, right? We want to develop men and women capable of leading our air and space forces. That's academically, like you see, athletically, and in military training and leadership. And in all 3 of those categories that I'm going to talk about, right? It's challenging. It's going to be hard. You're going to be faced with challenges. You're going to do things that you never thought you were going to be asked to do. But in those challenges are opportunities that you're also never going to – your friends from home, you're going to come home, they're going to talk about what you're doing at school, and their jaws are going to drop. Right? Those opportunities are only found at the service academies, and some of these ones at the Air Force Academy I think are specifically incredible. So let's start with some numbers. Right? If you're STEM inclined, right, math, science, engineering, you got to have all the service academies circled, of course. Air Force Academy specifically as well. I mean, these numbers speak for themselves. What I always like to note too is there's no graduate students at the Air Force Academy taking up the time and resources, right? And along those same lines, the professors aren't, only worried about their research and maybe just having the TA teach class today. That never happens. That is never an option for any teachers. There's no graduate students, right? We have 4,000 cadets. We like to say, give or take at any moment. The wind lab in the the wind tunnels in the aeronautics labs, the cadaver lab in the bio department, the mock trial rooms in the law department, right? All those are for us. They're for the cadets, right? They're for the undergrads. So when you choose a major and minor, like you can see from this list now that I pulled up, right, you're going to be given the resources, the time, the attention to pursue whatever you want to pursue within these majors and minors, right? The things that the cadets do at the Air Force Academy are incredible, right? Our quarterback for our football team is an aeronautical engineering major. I had a friend who was an astronautical engineering major and a French minor, and now she's getting a graduate degree in France as we speak. Right? All in the Air Force is done. I always like to highlight now this bottom right minor option of space warfighting. I'll touch on the Space Force a little later in the presentation, but just know that we're really integrating that, and the Air Force is obviously taking this very serious. It's a real thing now. And a quick snapshot of career opportunities. I'm not going to touch too much because this is something that's very easily found online. I'll pass along plenty of websites where you can read more into these. But on the left, you have longer than 5-year commitments. So, for example, I'm going to go be a pilot. That's going to be a minimum 9-year requirement. In the center, you have 5-year commitments minimum with no specific degree requirement. And on the right, you have 5-year commitments with a specific degree requirement, which makes sense, right? We want our mechanical engineers to have that specific degree. At the end of 4 years, what are we trying to do? From those career fields I just showed you, right, we're the Air Force, so what do we want to do? We want to put people in cockpits. We want to put people in airplanes, fly the fastest, most incredible airplanes to ever be built. We want to send around 50% of each graduating class into pilot training, right? Around 50% every single year. starting with my class in 2020, from now on, we're trying to commission and graduate around 10% of each class into the Space Force. Right? And additionally, if you keep up on your studies and you just kill it while you're at the Air Force Academy and you want to compete for graduate school slot, we usually fully fund around 10% of our graduating class to go directly to pursue an advanced degree, whether it be in law school, medical school, public policy degree. Again, all in the Air Force is done, right? You're getting sent 21, 22 years old. All right, go get your law degree. Air Force will pay for it, and we'll see you in 18 months or 2 years or what have you. And we're going to shift really quickly over to the athletic side. Right, we have 27 Division I sports, a ton of club sports that compete nationally on, very competitive. And then if you're not involved in any of those, you're also just going to be involved with some intramural sports, right? Everyone's going to play something at some point, right? Whether it's every day or a couple times a week. Right? And what that does is it adds a competitive edge and a real sense of camaraderie to our school, right? You might be sitting next to a hockey player in physics class who that night, he's going to strap on the pads and play Army in a sold out ice hockey arena. Or maybe the girl next to you is on the national championship women's rugby team, right? And we all work together. We all have classes together. The clique scene is very, very minimal, right? We're all family, and we love that everyone's involved in that way. Now imagine this: you come home from your freshman summer, and your friends from home, from Orlando area, ask you, what'd you do this summer? And you say, well, my first 3 weeks I was out in the woods. Learning how to survive, evade capture, procure my own water, trap animals, make my own clothes. And then the next few weeks, I got bussed down to the airfield, and I jumped out of an airplane by myself 5 times, free fall solo skydiving, and got my jump wings. And then you'll just see people, when you go home, you're like, are you serious? And yeah, we're serious. That was my freshman summer, right? And or maybe you were an instructor pilot, like you see in the glider planes on the bottom right, or maybe you were in the drone program, like you see on the bottom left. But what I like to say is, these opportunities aren't just for the top 10% crust of our students. Like, these are for everyone. Every single Air Force Academy cadet who comes through has the opportunity to do 1, 2, 3, as many as you can fit in your schedule. This is what you'll be doing. You'll be the ones in these pictures. Likewise, language immersions, cultural immersions, service academy exchanges, right? I was lucky enough to spend 4 weeks on the southern coast of Spain, as the Congresswoman mentioned. I'm living with a Spanish family 100 yards from the beach, going to language classes in the morning and traveling Spain on the weekends. And additionally, my senior year, I spent 6 months in the heart of Santiago, Chile. I went to a civilian institution down there, got to represent my school, my country, and just had an incredible opportunity. And again, I like to mention, you can do these things at other schools, right? But the money, the resources, the time, the ability to put everything into literally just you developing as a leader, developing as a person, getting a new perspective. The Air Force Academy realizes that building those transnational and transcultural leaders is unmatched. And then ultimately, we want to get you here. I talked about at the beginning, if you have an interest and we can get you started in the application process, we need to do it, because I want you to start that, and hopefully you get an appointment. And then all of a sudden you're at the Air Force Academy, and then all of a sudden you're here, right? Your last day of school, your graduation day, the Thunderbirds fly over your head, you throw your hat in the air, you put on second lieutenant rank, and you're in the Air Force or Space Force. Right? This is my graduation, one of the coolest days of my life. I'll never forget it. And if all those reasons weren't enough, right, here's the big service academy ones that we talked about, right? No tuition, no room and board, a guaranteed career, a monthly stipend, you're gonna get paid every month, and medical and dental coverage. Now, if everyone has their phone next to you, take a picture of this, please. I'm also going to put it in the chat. academyadmissions.com is going to be your go-to website for all things application, timeline, frequently asked questions, the directions. I couldn't say it more clearly and more explain myself, right? That website is a gold mine. I'll put it in the chat as well, like I mentioned. And here's me again. I'll put all that contact in the chat as well. I want to say thank you again to the staff, and that's all I have, so I'll take my screen away. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Second Lieutenant Brown. Up next, we have Lieutenant Chad Kenton from the U.S. Naval Academy.
Hello, everybody. Lieutenant Chad Anthony Kenton from the United States Naval Academy. Pretty excited to be here. Thank you, Congresswoman Demings, and the staff for having me here today. So let's try and get right into it. All right, you all can see that, right? Cool. All right, so a little bit about me. I did graduate from the Naval Academy 2013. I am a service warfare officer. I will be going back out to the fleet here in a little bit, so I'm pretty excited about that. I was not the top student in high school I was well-rounded, but I was not the top student anywhere. I was not the most amazing person in the world. But, you know, I was given the opportunity to go to preparatory school, which we will talk about a little bit. And going from prep school to the Naval Academy definitely prepared me to be ready for the Naval Academy and the rigor that's there. So we'll just get straight into it and we'll talk about everything, and you guys can ask your questions. All right, so United States Naval Academy is located in Annapolis, Maryland. We are about 25 miles from Baltimore, Maryland, and about 25 to 30 miles away from Washington, D.C. So we're smack dab in the middle. Also, downtown Annapolis is our backyard, so we don't have like a whole bunch of mountains or anything like that. You just go out there and there's a CVS and Killwinds, and there's downtown right there. So if you're looking for that kind of area, we're more like that than you know, open air, that kind of thing. You see to your left, Brigade Services, Barbershop, Armory, Midshipman Store, all of that's going to be available for everyone at the Naval Academy, completely free of charge. So if you need physical therapy, just go to physical therapy. If you need medical, dental, optometry, you just go and you use that. All right, so to your right, you're going to see our 22 world-class athletic facilities. We do have Alumni Hall. That's where you're going to see like basketball games, Navy Marine Corps Stadium, football, lacrosse, ice hockey rinks, 3 pools, fitness weight training gym. So if you want to get bigger, smaller, faster, whatever you're looking for, we have the facilities for you to do that. All right, so there are 25 majors available at the Naval Academy. We break them up into groups. So you're going to have your engineering weapons, that's group 1, and mathematics and science, that's group 2, and then humanities and social sciences, that's going to be group 3. If you are a group 3 major, then you're going to take one of those languages. You can see the available minors at the bottom. You don't have to minor in that language. You do have to take a certain amount of course work in that language. But if you want to do a little bit more, then you can minor in that language also. If you're in group 1 or 2, then you don't have to take a language, but you can if you'd like to. So, you know, that's really up to you. And it's something I encourage people to do if that's something that they're really into. It also makes you more eligible for those language immersion programs. Quite like the Air Force Academy that we have, that you can use the language that you're learning and then go, you know, spend 3 weeks in Japan in the summertime. So those opportunities are available to you. For sports, we do have 33 NCAA Division I varsity sports. So you can see those to your left. So men's, we have basketball, cross country, sprint football, squash, a bunch of things you can think of. Women's basketball, women's cross country, lacrosse, same thing. And then we have co-ed sports also. So intercollegiate sailing, offshore sailing, and then rifle team. So if you want to do any of those, one of the things I suggest people do is you can go to navysports.com and you can actually email a coach from the team that you're interested in getting recruited to. So if you're, you know, maybe you're shooting for your NJRTC program or your ROTC program, whichever one it is, and, you know, you wanted to shoot rifle at Navy, then you can definitely hit up the coach and then see if that's something that you can get recruited for. All right, so how does it work? Pay and benefits. So we kind of went over this again. We'll go over this again. It is a full scholarship, so tuition is completely paid for, room and board, medical and dental coverage, everything's going to be completely paid for. The way that it works is that the Navy is going to pay the Naval Academy $1,150 a month, and then you're going to see a small stipend from that. Your first year, $125, second year, $225, third year, $325, and then your last year, $400 to $600 a month. And that's just for you to do anything you want to do with it, because your uniforms are paid for, books are paid for, food, all of that is completely paid for. So you're never going to have to worry about taking out any money out of your pocket for anything other than what you want to. All right, so let's talk about career paths real quickly. So surface warfare, I drive ships for a living, so that's what I do. Then you have Marine Corps. So we do have, you know, Navy, and then we also have Marine Corps. For the Marine Corps side, if you want to go Marine Corps, we have Marine Corps Ground and then Marine Corps Aviation. So if you want to be a Marine Corps pilot, you can do that from the Naval Academy also. What we normally do, right, so you'll graduate as a Marine Corps Ground Officer from the Naval Academy, and then you go to this thing called TBS, the basic school, and that's where you would find out what you would do for the Marine Corps. Submarine warfare, so that's undersea warfare. If you are really, really smart and that's something that you want to do, you can absolutely do that. Aviation, so we do have 2 sections of Navy aviation. So you have Naval Flight Officer. That's going to be kind of your backseat driver, right, your goose. And then that's there in charge of like weapons, navigation, that kind of stuff. And then you're going to have your pilots up front. So we do have pilots and Naval Flight Officers that graduate from the Naval Academy. And then you have your special warfare. So those are also 2 groups, and it's a little bit different than most people think. So you have SEALs, which most people kind of know what SEALs are all about. but then you also have Navy EOD, which is explosive ordnance disposal. So we do have their job is just to defuse bombs on land and undersea, and then they do a lot of special missions that the SEALs also do. So if you're looking to go spec war, you kind of have two options. And the good thing about that, EOD is a little bit more selective than even the SEALs are. We graduate about 30 to 35 SEALs every year, and only about 12 to 17 EOD every year. All right, so basic eligibility, you have to be 17, but not older than 23 on July 1st of the year of entry. United States citizen by I-Day, unmarried, not pregnant, no legal obligation to anybody but yourself, and good moral character. For the application process, so we did go to a new system this year. I know a lot of people that have gone through that new system with us this year have kind of seen how we're working through it, but there's things that are going into the application are the same as they've been every single year. So you're going to do a personal statement, personal data record, which is just information about you and your family, candidate fitness assessment, which we'll talk about. That's push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, a 1 mile run, a shuttle run, and a basketball throw. It's going to be the same for Air Force and West Point. Provide an email address for an English teacher. That's going to be current year or previous year teacher. So if you're a senior in high school, that's going to be your senior year of high school or your junior year of high school. Same for your math teacher. You're going to do a guidance counselor, your current guidance counselor in high school, and then candidate fitness assessment proctor. So that's going to be who gives you the candidate fitness assessment. And those, as you can see to the right, correspond with those things on the right. So English recommendation is going to come from your English teacher, math from your math teacher, extracurricular activities and candidate academic information is going to come from your counselor. Your official high school transcript can be uploaded electronically through our system, through the candidate academic information link. If not, it has to be sent by mail. And then you have official SAT and ACT scores that come from College Board. All right, so let's talk about the nomination sources really quickly. I'm going to kind of breeze through this one because most people know that they have to get one. So the 4 that are available for everybody, congressional representatives, so that's what you're here for today to learn about, and then both senators and then your vice president. So that's the ones that are going to be available for everybody. So definitely look to do at least all 4 of those. All right, so this is a snapshot of our USNA admissions website. usna.edu/admissions. This is going to be where all the money is at. So if you want to go and find out anything about the United States Naval Academy admissions process, I would suggest that you go here. You can apply from here. You can apply for our summer programs from here. You can find out about our academics. You can watch videos here. So definitely take a look at this. It's a very robust website that you can use, and it's definitely going to be important for you to go and take a look at it. If you're curious about the CFA, you can type CFA in the search bar at the top right. So you can definitely look at all that. And then here's a little snapshot of our, so usna.edu/admissions, navysports.com that I talked about earlier for getting recruited, and then our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you'd like to follow us on social media. All right, and then this is just some information for us. I am FAC Region 2 at usna.edu. I'm in charge of Florida and Georgia, so if you're looking for an email address, do that, but I'll put it in the chat also, my email address and then my phone number, so that if you need anything, if you're curious about the Naval Academy, you want to talk, I'm definitely available for that for you all. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Lieutenant Kenton. And we are making decent time here. So we have Diana who's back on. And Diana, do you want to take 5 minutes if there was something additional from the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy?
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yes, I did get confirmation that our midshipman is just bogged down with finals, so I apologize on his behalf. But finals are important, so let him go. But one thing that I can only stress, well, among many things about the United States Merchant Marine Academy, is that it is a facility of higher learning that produces exemplary leaders. And those leaders get practical experience. They get also long-term experience that they can use in the private sector as well as the military sector. And their long-term success is incredible. Currently, my son, as stated earlier, is out to sea, and that is part of the process for their training. There's 1 year of sea training that they will take place in. And honestly, it's probably given him such a well-rounded perspective as to what the maritime industry truly has in store. And he's excited about his future. He has a year and a half to go, and what it has provided for him is really immeasurable. There is no money that can be put onto this experience. As far as the academics are concerned, there has never been a situation while he was at school that was not something that he couldn't tackle. If he maybe ran into some situations where there was an academic issue, there are tutors on hand that are there to help you. The Academy wants to see you succeed, and they will go to every measure to make sure that that happens. Now, COVID, of course, has thrown in a few different challenges for every service academy, I'm sure. But to see how our leadership at the Academy has risen to the occasion to ensure that our midshipmen are well taken care of, especially for our plebes who now cannot get off campus and cannot see their families, and Parents' Weekend was canceled. But it is what it is, but the leadership has taken great strides in ensuring everyone's happiness and everyone's success. So again, as I stated earlier, please check out the video that is in the chat. And again, my apologies for the technical issues, but I would strongly encourage you to take a tour and also learn more about the Merchant Marine Academy, because out of all the service academies, it offers you the most bang for your buck. And we are also the most well-kept secret out there. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And I again, thank you for your time.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Diana. So at this time, I don't have a fancy presentation like everyone else to share, so I'll just kind of read through what our process is through the Congressional Office, which is, again, I think what we hope to answer the most questions about tonight, but we also want to make available all of the panelists, and we can ask specific questions to them, and we'll direct those questions to them. So again, thank you again for joining us tonight. And my name is Aaron Waldron, and I'm the Congresswoman's Director of Community and Economic Development here in her Orlando office. Also joining us tonight from the Congresswoman's office to assist in this process are her District Director, Sonja White, and our District Staff Assistant, Katie Bowyer. We also have another person on the line. You may see Sonja and Katie on the panelist presentation here in the video chat, but Mark Hinson, who's one of the Congresswoman's Community Outreach Directors or Coordinators, is also on the call as well. So all of us are here in the office to help you with this process. So briefly, I'll just explain the logistics of our office's nomination process. In March, our office will post the current year's application information on the Congresswoman's webpage, which is demings.house.gov. When you visit our site, there is a services menu at the top. And under services, you'll click the Military Service Academy button and enter your zip code for where you live. And if you live in the Congresswoman's West Orange County District, you'll continue to information page, and that will list all of the important dates and required documents our office will need to receive from every candidate. Once the application process closes, which is at the end of October, so this year's application process just closed, and we thank you to the students who are on the line today paying attention to this presentation process. But this year's applications have closed. We will be entertaining next year's applications, which again will close at the end of October of next year. But we will reach out to every candidate to schedule an interview with the Congresswoman's nomination board. And each of those interviews will last about 20 minutes with a 3-member panel. And that typically is scheduled for the Wednesday after Thanksgiving. So your deadline's end of October, you'll be notified in November. The interviews will either be at the very end of November or, in this year's case, the beginning of December. As you have just heard, the Academy admissions process will consider your test scores and grades and physical and medical fitness and extracurricular activities. Our board members will only use that information as a part of our application to inform their questions to you, which will focus on, their questions will focus on your character and attempt to understand why you'd like to attend an academy. The board is made up of a diverse group of individuals in every regard. The Congresswoman has curated a group of people who have, some of them have graduated from the academies, some of them served as enlisted members of the military. Some of them have sons or daughters who attend the academies currently or have recently graduated from academies. And they represent diversity in every way, gender, age, race, and geography within the district. So we took a lot of time to make sure that every perspective is represented and that the academy is getting a diverse group. All of the academies are getting a diverse group of candidates from all different sorts of backgrounds. After the interviews, the board will make their recommendations to the Congresswoman. She is able to nominate 10 candidates for each academy from her district. So 10 nominees for West Point, 10 for the Naval Academy, 10 for Air Force Academy, and Merchant Marine Academy is unique in a number of ways, and we're actually able to nominate, I believe, 10 as well, but we can nominate them from outside of the district so long as they're in the state of Florida. Not every nominee, just as a reminder, will be, I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead here a little bit, but once she makes her nominations, we will reach out to everyone who was interviewed and notify them of the decision, notify the academies of the nominations by that January 31st deadline that was highlighted. But then it is up to the academies to consider making a formal offer to the nominees. So just because you receive a nomination from our office will not be an automatic acceptance, but it is a required part of the process. As a reminder, you know, a student can pursue an application through our office at demings.house.gov. They can pursue, as well as also as mentioned, Senator Rubio or Senator Scott's offices, or through the Vice President's office. And we encourage every student to apply through each of those avenues, and which will have separate applications, have separate interview processes and deadlines, and those will be accessible through those offices' sites. So our information will only be through our site at demings.house.gov. With that, I'd like to open up the event for questions from our attendees. If you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand by clicking the raise hand button on your Zoom screen. You'll be connected to our chat box, so one of our staff members will be able to get more information from you. We will then read your question to the panelists if you have specified which panelist you'd like to answer the question. Again, this event is focused specifically on the Military Service Academy nomination process for high school students interested in attending an academy, or their parents if they have questions as well. Please direct your questions to the representatives of the academies, including our guest midshipmen and Merchant Marine Academy Cadet from West Point, and to our office, of course. So with that, we have a couple questions to get us started. This one I think would go to Diana and the Merchant Marine Academy. I think it answers itself maybe for the other academies, but if you would quickly, maybe others would like to jump in with this. But Diana, after graduating from the Merchant Marine Academy, do you get to choose which branch you would like to go into, or is it just Navy, or is it just Army or Air Force, or is it already defined for you?
No, that's a great question. Thank you very much for asking. Now with my son particularly, he will have to make a commitment in February, what he wants to do in his junior year. He has the option of going for maritime service, which would be a civilian opportunity, or he can choose any branch of the military should he decide to do so.
Excellent. Okay. Our next question, if from a current, I believe, college student at a community college or state college, if I will be done with my 2-year degree with an associate's degree at the end of high school, how does that translate into my degree journey versus continuing on to a 4-year university and finishing the final 2 years with a 4-year degree in a specific major, including, in this case, computer science. Let me...
Sir, I can actually, I did just that. So I went to 2 years of junior college. I got my associate's degree in business management. There you go. And so what happens, and this might be the same for West Point Navy, right? Those credits don't specifically transfer. What's going to happen is you're going to come into the Air Force Academy, and actually during basic training, your first 2 months, you're going to take placement tests in math, physics, and chemistry. And so that's going to put you, theoretically in a higher level if you've taken those classes before. And then additionally, once you get into the school year, some of those core classes that are on your future schedule, you can, if you've taken those in junior college, like I had taken some in junior college, you can go to those specific departments and you can ask for basically validation credit. So it doesn't really get tacked onto a degree that you're going to get from the Air Force Academy, but you can get some validation credit basically and open up your schedule for the future.
Great, thank you. And Second Lieutenant, you were exactly who I was going to call on, so thank you so much for jumping in on that. Another question, what if I'm interested in 2 academies? Am I basically able to pursue the process for both of them? And so again, if anybody wants to jump in on that, I will answer that from our perspective. Yes, we encourage you to rank your preferences. So if you are very much interested in going to one of the academies specifically, please let that be known. We will try to have you schedule an interview for you with that specific board. But if you are receiving interest from multiple academies or you're interested in multiple academies, due to the time constraints of the day, we can't have you interview with multiple boards. Unless there's sort of an extenuating circumstance, but we will certainly entertain that. And again, if you have like letters of assurance, letters of encouragement from different academies, or you have you're being recruited for a sports scholarship to one of the academies, we will make specific arrangements with you to accommodate that. But first and foremost, we'll have you interview with your number 1 choice. So. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything to that, but that's from our perspective. Okay.
Yeah, for us, I mean, just feel free to apply to whatever school you want to apply to. It doesn't change anything for us, really. So, the more the merrier.
For West Point, we totally understand if you need the Naval Academy or the Air Force Academy as a backup school. And unfortunately, we can't just accept everybody here. So. We definitely encourage you to apply to all of them.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Captain. Everyone else, I'm sure, will have their opportunity to shoot one across the bow as well. So our next question here is related to the fitness exam, the CFA. Are they the same for each academy? And Captain, I don't know if you want to jump in first on that, or
So my understanding, obviously, I'm only speaking from West Point's perspective, but my understanding is Navy, Air Force, us, and Coast Guard all have the same, and I think the Merchant Marine has a different fitness assessment. I think that's the only one that's different.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think the only difference is that West Point requires video footage. So that's the only difference. So I always encourage people, I say, hey, take the one for West Point because you have to provide the video and have them send it to us.
Okay, thank you. Next question, does applying early to the academies improve your chances of getting accepted, provided you are fully qualified, meet all of the metrics? And maybe I'll go with Lieutenant Kenton again.
So applying early definitely is helpful. It's not, so if you meet all the metrics and you're maybe an outstanding student, I would definitely go for earlier the better. However, some people are in a position where for them to be competitive, they need to wait a little bit before they go, through the board process and things of that nature. So I always tell people, hey, reach out to me, let's talk about it. because I don't want to send you up if maybe you're pulling straight A's that first semester, winter semester, your senior year, and you can show that. That can definitely help you a little bit. So if you can get a boost, and that's definitely helpful. If you are kind of sitting at, really great and there's nothing that you can really do, then definitely the earlier the better.
Okay, thank you.
Can I jump in there really quick too?
Yes, absolutely.
I personally encourage all of my candidates to complete as much of their application early as they can, specifically for the purpose of, I can't evaluate the file and I can't give you the best advice to improve yourself and potentially make yourself more competitive, or have the opportunity to see how dedicated you are to coming to the academy without them showing that through that application process. So I encourage everybody to work on it early. We can always improve things along the way throughout the rest of the application process.
And we had a similar question about applying to all the academies. Do you just apply to one, or do you apply to all of them separately? I'll try to answer that one real quick, and to say that you should apply to all of them separately. They each have their own process, their own applications, and you'll need to satisfy the requirements for each academy and what they're looking for. So I'm going to forget the terminology here, but I believe it's opening a packet or opening, just generally opening an application with the different academies. Pay attention to alerts, various notifications you get from them, what you're missing or what you need to improve upon, communicate with them. Our office is here for the purposes of just the nomination, the legal required nomination for each academy. Like I said, we've made nominations to multiple academies for a single student before if they've received interest in multiple academies, but we will accommodate your first choice first and foremost. It was mentioned the Coast Guard Academy. I'll also point out that for various other military schools and also the U.S. Coast Guard, you're not required to receive a congressional nomination for those academies. So again, they will have their own admissions process. When we do a live event, we would normally, an in-person event, we would normally have booths and representatives that can answer those types of questions for you. But for the purposes of tonight, if you want to apply to one of the four academies represented tonight, those are the ones that require the congressional nomination, but Coast Guard is not one of those academies that requires that, although their process, I believe, is similar minus the nomination, the congressional nomination. Question here, do any of the academies give music or arts scholarships for, in this specific case, music scholarships for band members? I know they're military bands, but is that something that's appreciated, I guess, through the?
So we don't. Everybody that comes to West Point is under a scholarship. Obviously, that the scholarship is based on the service that they do after graduation. However, what I'll say is that when we look at those extracurriculars, specifically, I can speak to West Point. When we look at extracurriculars, we don't care what you're participating in extracurricular-wise. What we care about is that you're showing leadership potential, that you're achieving levels of leadership in whatever extracurriculars you're participating in. And we do have opportunities to continue doing band. We have our Spirit Band here. We also have one of the best U.S. Army bands here at West Point that would be great mentorship for somebody who's super interested in the band.
And sir, I'll just, from a different angle of that question, if it was meant to be interpreted as far as like being recruited for how sports is, that is not something that I'm aware of that happens at the Air Force Academy as far as like, a baseball player, football player, or soccer player gets recruited. I'm not aware that happens for band members, if that was the intent of that question.
Yeah, same for us, but you can definitely, there's musical groups that you can be a part of. So when you get to the academy, whichever academy it is, they have the opportunities there for you to continue doing the things that you love. So definitely look at that.
And the same goes for the Merchant Marine Academy. There are a lot of opportunities there to become very well diversified, and band company is one of the more popular opportunities, but there are many, many others.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. And yes, I believe that was the intent. Would you basically be recruited almost as a recruited athlete, but for band and music? This one is to Second Lieutenant Brown. You'd mentioned space warfare and space forces, and is there anything additional that you can add to that? And what's makes that kind of different and new?
Absolutely, sir. So like I had mentioned in my class in April, we commissioned our first officers into the Space Force. And basically how we're trying to set this up for the future is much so how the Marines fits into the Navy, right, in that department. So the Air Force Academy wants to be the main commissioning source for the Space Force now and into the future. So what it looks like will be happening is you'll be, when you receive your job, which you usually receive your job late junior year, early senior year, that's when you'll already be designated to then, okay, I'm going Air Force pilot, or I'm going Space Force intelligence, or I'm going Air Force intelligence, or Space Force logistics, right? So it's just going to become another path that you can choose along the same timeline of choosing your path, how we've always done, even without the Space Force.
Excellent, thank you. This next question here, I'm going to try to get Cadet Cope involved. What does your day look like from when you wake up until you go to sleep, minus having to do congressional events?
Well, obviously the congressional events fit into my free time, but you know, I enjoy it. So an average cadet day, and I think this is pretty similar across all the academies. You wake up usually around 6:30, morning formation. So morning formation is like an accountability formation that you have to have every morning. You're in the uniform of the day, usually occurs sometime around 7, go to breakfast, and then it's class until about 4 or 5 p.m. in the afternoon. With COVID-19, West Point schedule has shifted a little bit. So we do end later in the day. We also start a little bit later, which is nice. I've gotten to sleep in at least 20 minutes more this year. But immediately following classes, you're not off the hook. That's when you go into your athletics hours, or you might have like an evening study brief for one of your classes. So for the most part, you usually have from about 6 until 11:30, which is TAPS. You have to be in your room. That's your free time. But obviously you have like a brief or something that your company needs you to do, or you have an assignment to work on. That's when you have that free time, so to speak. Usually breakfast and lunch are mandatory. Dinner is not, so you don't have to worry about that in the evening. Right now, we don't have any mandatory meals because of COVID, but as far as operations as usual go, it's just 2 mandatory meals.
Excellent. This question is sort of I'll kind of combine them. What is the earliest high school grade level that you can essentially start looking into and maybe even apply to one of the academies? And related, if you're a sophomore in high school, can you start exploring that, choosing an academy? Are there summer programs or other things that you might be able to see if the academies are right for you before applying?
Yeah, I can jump in really quickly. So you can start looking into an academy, any academy really, as early as you'd like. As far as opportunities to go see it, there's always visitation. Obviously with COVID-19, that's a little bit different, but you can go out there. We usually have visitors during the year. They'll come and they'll watch like noon formation where we march into King Hall, which is where everybody eats, and kind of checks out the Naval Academy. There's tours of the Naval Academy, shows you the whole thing. But if you don't want to do that, but you want to go check out a summer program, what we have. So for rising 9th, 10th, and 11th graders, so 8th, 9th, and 10th graders now, there is a program called Summer STEM, and that's basically where you just go to the Naval Academy for 6 days. You get to go to DC, you get to go see the Smithsonian, you get to go do a bunch of cool and fun stuff, and then you go home. But you eat where we eat, you sleep where we sleep, and you kind of know exactly what the Naval Academy has to offer. So there's that program for those grades. And then for somebody going into their senior year, so juniors now, there's a program called Summer Seminar. I call it the Try It Before You Buy It program. So you can go, we treat you like a rough version, like a very light version of a freshman. So you get 6 days at the academy, same thing, but this one is a little bit more physically intensive. You get to take a CFA on your second day. So there's a opportunity for you to kind of see what the Naval Academy is all about and see what it would be like if you were there, a light version of that, so that you can make an informed decision on whether or not this is something that you want to do with your life. So we have those programs that are available. Like I said, visitor tours are going throughout the year. Obviously with COVID-19, a little bit different. This past year, we had to do summer STEM and summer seminar virtually. So we're hoping that this year we can have it in person. So we'll see, but those are the opportunities that are kind of available. And if you want to check them out, I've dropped the website and the link, so you can go to summer programs there.
All right, thank you. And is there a summer program for West Point or Air Force Academy or Merchant Marine?
Yeah, for West Point, we have similar things. We do have a STEM thing for younger students. We also have sports camps in the summers. So I know a lot of candidates I work with, they'll say that they got they knew West Point was for them when they came up for a sports camp one summer. And those can be done anywhere from middle school, it seems like, on. And then we obviously have our summer leadership experience as well, very similar to Navy's, for 1 week in the summer for rising seniors as well.
As far as the Merchant Marine Academy, we have opportunities for possible applicants to tour the facility. You can do a day tour, or you can do an overnight and shadow a midshipman. So you're living the life of a midshipman right on campus. If there is an interest level, I strongly suggest that you look into that, because it is the best way for your student to experience life on campus. And then you can, go and spend some time in New York City while your child is doing other things on campus. Also, I would recommend for middle schoolers looking at high school classes, joining an ROTC program. That would lead also to a leadership academy opportunity, because all of that looks amazing on your child's resume to get into any of the academies as well.
And we have summer seminar as well. Just visit that link I just posted. It'll tell you all about it.
Excellent. Thank you all. This one, I guess, is for our office, but what does your office look for in a competitive candidate during the interview process? And, I don't know if Cadet Cope wants to mention what her sort of experience was with our board, but I think that it's the same cast of characters she sat in front of. We continued with them. But ultimately, what our direction is to the board and what their priorities are, they're shared with us from the academies. We're really looking for character. We're looking for, can we tell that you're an honest individual that sincerely wants to attend the academy, that you're a good representative of our district and of your community. Those are the types of things that our questions, the panel's board's questions are trying to get at. Certainly there are instances of maybe a student is trying to put it on their resume, and that it's pretty obvious that they're not actually interested in attending an academy, or they're being pushed to attend an academy, that they don't really want to attend the academies. And speaking on behalf of or in place of the academies here, I don't know that they want that individual there either if they're not interested in being there. So that's the type of thing that I think that we're trying to get to the root of when a student sits for our panels, and certainly is a priority for the Congresswoman, that's what she wants to be reflected. I'll just mention one more kind of thing about our nominations and our nominees. This district, while not a, we're not an extremely rural district with maybe sparse interest in the academies. We also are not in the shadow of the Pentagon or a large military installation with a lot of military families, but we have a mix of both of those, I would say, in this area. And that's reflected in the types of students that we receive. We have some who have military family backgrounds, and we have others who don't have that. And so the opportunity is there for all to apply and to be interviewed, and we will take the best, again, with the judgment on character, leave it to the academies to weed out for if there are other issues academically, medically, fitness-wise that they need to take a look at. But that's, from our perspective, what we're interested in. And this congressional district has been very successful in placing a number of nominees and getting a number of appointment offers from each of the academies. And those individuals who sit with us and get nominated tend to accept those offers and move on to the academy. So speaking from our point of view, that's the type of thing that we're looking for. Certainly for many of the representatives on the panel, if there's anything additional that you all prioritize, I know you all mentioned test scores and kind of the issues going on with the pandemic and different challenges that are happening, but there's other priorities that you all are looking for as well. All right. So our next question, I think this is kind of for everybody, but probably could be answered simply by one individual, but there might be a spin on this for each academy and even Cadet Cope if you want to say what this kind of means to you. But could someone share more about what the commitment one makes to the country when one attends the academy? What does that commitment look like, and legally, and also, I guess, from a character perspective?
I can talk to that. So obviously, the legally you're required to serve 5 years upon graduation. But I think what the more important thing is, and this is why we create leaders of character, is because the expectation is that you are going to go out and lead the sons and daughters of America as an Army officer. And so we want to prepare you for that. It's not just academics. It's not just being athletic. It's all of it. It's all of it put together. And so that's really the expectation. We can get people to go and serve those 5 years for a free education. We want the right people to go serve those 5 years to lead our soldiers.
Excellent.
As far as the Merchant Marine Academy goes, it is an 8-year Navy Reserve commitment if you choose to go into the maritime industry. And if you go into the military, that explains itself. There's that commitment level right there.
And one piece I'll add is the first day of your junior year is always the most important day. Basically, you can leave the Air Force Academy. I'm not sure about the other academies up until your first day of your junior year. After the first day of your junior year, you basically sign a commitment to the Air Force, and that's when you're kind of solidified, locked into your service to the country and in the Air Force or Space Force or what have you.
And I don't know if this was already mentioned. Does your academy commitment, your school commitment, does that apply toward that 5 year, or just it's separate and apart?
Does not apply, no sir.
Okay. Now this one's also for Second Lieutenant Brown, but I know that the other academies also offer similar opportunities, but it's directed toward you. Wondering about offering opportunities with NASA. Is there an astronaut program, space engineering program?
Yes, so I'll take a broad stroke at that. I don't know specifically about NASA, right? But I do know that we send hundreds of cadets every summer to do internships at, Raytheon, the State Department, name it. And there's a cadet doing summer research, doing summer internships there. For me, political science, I wasn't doing anything crazy like NASA, but I got to go intern with someone who's really deep in my field at Notre Dame for 4 weeks, right? That's, again, NASA, I don't know specifically, but, in those engineering majors, those summer opportunities you're going to have your sophomore and junior summer, as I'm sure it's the exact same with the other academies, are going to be, yes, exactly the same level and incredible opportunity of something like NASA.
Okay, great. So I I think we're rolling up on 7:30 here. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I want to ask one more question related to prep schools. The academies offer a prep school program, and can you briefly discuss, you know, in this case, it was mentioned the Naval Academy Prep School, but certainly also the other academies have their prep schools as well. If you want to just briefly say what that is.
I can just really quickly. So the Naval Academy Preparatory School, we also have a foundation program. It's basically where instead of getting an appointment to the Naval Academy the year that you apply, you would get an appointment to the preparatory school or foundation program. And then you would have the ability to go to one of those schools, prepare to get to the academy. And then you would essentially be almost guaranteed a spot in the next class. So if you're class of 2025, you would get, you know, preparatory school, and then you would go there, do that 10-month program, and then you would go straight to the Naval Academy from there, and you'd be class of 2026.
Excellent. And I believe that's basically similar for West Point and for the Air Force Academy. Not sure, does Merchant Marine Academy have a prep school too, or no?
Thank you for asking. No, we do not, but we currently have a very large majority of our student body come to us from various preparatory academies as well.
Excellent, great. So again, since we've hit the 7:30 mark, I want to thank everybody on behalf of the Congresswoman. As you can imagine, her schedule is packed, and she had a 7 p.m. meeting, so she had to head to that. But on her behalf and on behalf of our staff here, I want to thank everybody who attended our event today. We certainly look forward to seeing you in person when the time is appropriate. That goes for our panelists, that goes for our attendees. We look forward to hosting you all down here in Florida, and allowing our attendees to see you all face to face. Again, thank you, Cadet Cope, for taking time out this evening to join us, and everyone from the academies for sharing information with us. We will, the remaining questions that we were unable to get to, Katie from our office has been logging those. Well, this meeting is being recorded. We will make it available online, and we will answer those questions that we received here using your RSVP information to send those out to the broader group. And do our best to answer them, and certainly answer any other new questions that were unasked along the way. So again, thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and thank you again.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.